Today, I'd like to go through a complete run through of a buy in San Miguel. Most of the things that I will tell you will be very similar in other parts of Mexico, but I am familiar here, and so I will give you a detailed explanation on how things will develop. The first issue is things are very different here than they are in the United States or Canada, and so it is very, very important that you find an agent that you feel completely simpatico with and you have 100% trust in. There will be several points in the buying process that I will discuss later where you will be looking to your agent to give you some important information. And so you need to feel 100% certain that that agent is giving you their best advice. It is my advice to you that you do not choose an agent who has a great many listings. There are always in markets, and there certainly are here, certain agents who have a great many listings for sale. These are often people that have been here for 30 or 40 years. They know everybody, they go everywhere. People list with them, and their professional practice is really most about showing homes to potential buyers rather than it is representing the buyers. And all of them that I know of and am aware of are really excellent people and fine agents and so forth. But it creates a complicated situation if an agent which is representing you also is representing the seller of a home you want to buy. In the United States, certain states have laws which forbid this and have a practice to about what you do when that situation occurs. Certain large real estate firms have a similar protocol. The protocol is normally that the listing agent continues to represent the seller and stops representing you, and another agent steps in to represent you in the transaction. We have no rules or regulations or practices of this kind in San Miguel. So what will really happen is that somebody who is 100% legally committed to representing you will be selling you a house that they are 100% legally committed to representing on the other side. So I don't like this. As a principal and as an agent, I want the agent to represent me and only me. And I do not want them to represent anyone else. So I encourage you to stay away from agents who have large numbers of listings, not because they are not great people or great agents, but because this creates a complex situation that will just be trouble and may result in you not getting as good a deal as you can. So then you look extensively and you find the home you like and you now want to make an offer on this property. So again, there is no standardized form in town. You will see different ones. Again, they will be divided half in Spanish and half in English. And they will in different ways address these issues. At that point, you, in addition to describing your price and terms and how all of that will work, you want to be very, very specific about what is included and what is excluded in the transaction. Mexicans are famous for taking light bulbs and toilet paper and everything you can imagine from the house that is being sold. And you just need to have clarity on that. If the offer is accepted, you will go to a notary and the notary will draw up a buy-sell agreement. You should have then for the notary a total description of all of these things. If you are buying the drapes everywhere in the house, you need to say, I'm buying the drapes, I'm buying the valences, I'm buying the finials, I'm doing this, and it's a great idea if you have pictures that back all that up. And similarly, if there are clear exclusions, then that exclusion should also be noted if the seller is taking their refrigerator or so on. Houses in San Miguel are sold unfurnished. They are sold furnish ex art, which means that you are buying the furnished house, but it does not include the art that is on the walls. You can also buy furnished with art, and you can also buy turnkey. And turnkey means you are getting towels and sheets and knives and forks, and if you're lucky, a Cuisinart, and everything that is in the house. So you can just walk in and live there. Shipping costs are so great between the United States and Mexico that it really makes no sense to ship either way anything unless it's really a treasured item, a family heirloom, an important antique, a collection of pictures or maps or whatever. So you will very often see the turnkey option, and of course that will also be homes that have been rented regularly, so people can just walk in and make coffee and cook dinner. So you want total clarity about what your choices are in there and if there are certain exclusions. And I have seen exclusions that have included small pink ceramic pigs and all kinds of things. So sometimes these items are of value to the seller, or sometimes they're of value to the buyer, and this is just represented in the contracts. And it's very important that you do it and that you do it in detail. I recently had a client where the seller was very clear that everything under the stairs in the basement she was retaining. And she was clear about that. Her agent was clear about that. I was clear about that. I passed that on to my buyer. I assumed my buyer was clear about that. When the contract was written up, it said all items under the basement stairs. I was clear about what that meant, but my client decided that an armoire was not an item for the purposes of this, and wanted the armoire and wanted to take legal action to get the armoire. And the armoire was of great sentimental value to this seller, who was quite old and a cancer survivor and was not entitled or not wanting to give it up. And it just created a lot of unnecessary pain. And I just was so sorry that it happened. So if you have a situation and you want the armoire, put down on a piece of paper that you want the armoire. Just be absolutely perfectly precise. So then it will be generally about a month from the time that you have signed the agreement until you go to the closing. The seller's agent will often want to hold the closings first thing in the morning, because if they can send the wiring instructions before noon, the wire will go that day. My advice to you is to schedule it later, at least at 11 or 12, because I want you to do a walkthrough of that property immediately before the close. I want you to do the walkthrough, get in a cab, and go to the closing. And I want you to do a thorough walkthrough. If your home inspection said the pool heater didn't work, I want you to turn the pool heater on and to be there in the house long enough until you can see that a sufficient amount of hot water is coming out of the pool heater. If the inspection said the automatic pilot light on the fireplace doesn't work, then you need to see clearly that it does work. Normally, your agent will accompany you on the walkthrough and should really be able to do everything you need to have done. But if there's anything special there, you may also wish to have the home inspector accompany you again if there's something highly technical that you're going to not be familiar with. The home inspector will normally charge about $300 to do the house, and then we'll probably charge 50 or 100 to accompany you again through the walkthrough if you feel that is needed. Um, and you should also make sure that no personal items of any kind are in the house. And also I should add, under no circumstances should you accept a contract that does not provide for the home to be delivered empty to you. Laws favor tenants in Mexico, even tenants that don't have written agreements, to such a ridiculous extent that it will cause you great problems if anybody can make such a claim. So, no toothbrushes, no running shoes, no nightgowns, no water picks, no anything in the house that belonged to the seller or any associate of the seller. And if that's there, you should immediately pick up the phone and call the selling agent. They may very well be accompanying you on the walkthrough, but if they're not there, you need to say, I'm not closing unless all of these personal items are removed. So you walk through there, you make sure that everything in the agreement has been fulfilled. The broken window was repaired. New membranes were put on the parapets and painted. And if you don't know what a membrane is or what one looks like, your agent probably will. But make sure that every question that was raised by the home inspection is answered. And then when all of that is done, and really probably that means that you should allow an hour or an hour and a half to be in the house to do all of this. It will, of course, depend on the number of items on the inspection list, but do not shortchange the walkthrough. When you have completed the walkthrough, you then go immediately to the closing and you work through the closing. Now, I will tell you, I think in the first couple of closes, I did not have an attorney representing me. And since then, I have always had one. A basic title search costs about $1,000. A notary does not do a title search of any length or depth. They merely look at what's on the books at the equivalent of the clerk of court's office. And so there may be items in there that could potentially present trouble. The owner of your home was an old lady. She died. She had 8 children. 2 of them were stepchildren from her husband's first marriage. All the documents were signed to transfer the title, but the stepchildren didn't sign. This could present a potential problem for you in the future. The notary will not find this, but an attorney will find this, or hopefully will find this. And so, in my opinion, the $1,000 or so spent on a basic title search is money well spent at twice the price. I mean, to become involved in litigation in this country is a pain, and it takes a very long time. And I had a dear friend who fought from the time she was 87 until she was 94, when she won, but died soon after that. And you just don't want that. So, in my opinion, having the attorney do the basic title search is helpful. Also, there are a number of questions about how you hold title in this country that are different than in the U.S. So you may wish to sit down with your attorney. You should sit down with your attorney and discuss them. So when the close is completed, which will be about an hour or two, then you should immediately return to the house that you have purchased with a suitcase that has your water pick, your toothbrush, and a few things to hang in the closet, and slippers, and Mr. Coffee. I mean, you should move a few of your personal items into the house so that you can say, yes, I am resident in the house, because you can see that here is my nightgown and there is my water pick. And then, in the most ideal situation, when you return from the closing, the locksmith will be waiting at your house, and they will immediately rekey every lock in the house. Between management companies, gardeners, maids, short-term rental tenants, it is not unusual for there to be a tremendous number of keys to your house floating around, and you would obviously like that to not happen. You should also have interior or a interior deadbolt on your exterior doors, so that if there is a time when you're you know, before you are rekeyed and somebody tries to get in, that they can't get in. Um, and then you're done. It will be about 1 to 2 months before your deed is recorded. This is standard. Makes no sense to me, and it's always a month or two, whether we are in a total boom market and processing a tremendous number of transactions, or when the market is completely dead and there's no work. It's still a month from the time you sign the offer till you see the notary, and a month or two from the time you see the notary until you see the deeds recorded. You also will be able, when they are recorded, you will be able to go to the notary's office and get a copy of the deed, and you should do that and put it in your bank box or put it somewhere safe. Probably scan it. Just the things that you would do to take care of important developments. And that really ends then the process. I mean, the seller is out. You are now on the title. You are in possession, and hopefully you have a great and wonderful life, and you enjoy the magic that is San Miguel. I have been here on a full or permanent basis for right at 20 years, and it's really been one of the great gifts of my life. And I hope that you come here and it will be one of the great gifts of your life. Um, but in regard to the buying and selling, that things are significantly different than they are in the United States. Um, and you should have people that you trust along the way to help you. I should also add, as a postscript, if I did not mention this in the beginning, you are able to buy fee simple in San Miguel, which means that you take a deed to the property. This is the same thing that you do if you buy in the United States or Canada. When I was very much younger, no American could buy property in Mexico, and so consequently you had to have a trust, which is called a fideicomiso, and you could not directly hold title. The trust was administered by a bank. In 1994, the law changed, except for land which is 31 miles from the coastal border or 62 miles from the land borders. There you must still buy with the fideicomiso. There really is no problem with the fideicomiso, but I do believe that San Miguel and Ajijic and other places in the inland areas have benefited by people who just want to hold a deed the way they do in the United States. And I believe that covers that. So you will you'll have a property tax bill. It needs to be paid by the end of the year. If you pay it in January, you normally get a 15% discount. Um, in a number of the years that I have been here, in most of the years that I have been here, you've been better off waiting till December because the peso has depreciated more than 15%. So, in a dollar term, you're better off if you pay at the end of the year. But in a peso terms, you get a 15% discount in January. And I suppose you do a very good deed for the municipality because, of course, they need money and everyone is paying late and so on. And those taxes will be very low. It's very unlikely that they will be over $200 or $300 a month. I've yet to find anybody who has property taxes over 1,000, even in some extremely swanky places. Um, and you will need that copy of that title that you will get from the notary a couple of months after the closing to change electrical service and water service. They will require that you prove that you own the property in order to pay the bills. If I were an electrical utility and somebody wanted to come and pay the bills on property they didn't own, I think I'd be happy with that. But that is not how it works here. So you must have the copy of the deed to do that. You will also at times need to give your official address for things, but I don't think there are any other times in which you will need to produce the deed. But you should have the deed. You should have copies. You should have one of those copies in a safe place, possibly scanned, and another one or two so that if you need to go to the electric company, you can just grab it out of the drawer. For the purposes of resale, which is really not our topic, but just to throw that in, you get approximately a 2 million peso exemption for every person who is on the deed. In order to get that exemption, you must be a citizen or have permanent residency. So, you will probably want to look into that over time, and it's not very difficult to do, though the process has to be begun in the United States or Canada or your country of origin. And other than that, I think that covers the story. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me. Please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. YouTube loves all that, and they will think that I am more important than I am, and I like that idea. So please do that for me if you would. And as always, any questions you have about any topics, are really appreciated, and I will do my best to find them out. I often get requests for people who are looking for certain kind of dental procedures or other things, and that's of course really important. If you need to do that, you want to have somebody who does the style that you want here. And in general, we are somewhat limited in what we have in San Miguel, but we are 40 miles away from Querétaro, which is really a very modern, fast-growing city like Houston or Dallas, and has lots of opportunities. And then Mexico City really has extraordinary physicians and other services, everything from, body scanning to Tibetan bowls. I mean, everything that you want is there. So I highly recommend life in Mexico. It's fantastic. And I hope that I have given you a full walkthrough of what will happen if you come here and decide you wish to buy a house. And I cannot think of anything else. So thank you so much for listening, and really please have just a marvelous and blessed life wherever you live. But I do think if you come to Mexico, it's easier. So thanks so much.